Okay, let's unpack this. Ever feel like you're trying to understand something really complex, like a massive global initiative, and it feels a bit like untangling knotted threads?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with environmental stuff, there are so many moving parts.
Exactly. Well, today we're diving into one of those big efforts. It's centered around a consultation workshop held in Cambodia back on April 22nd, 2025.
And we're getting insights from Mr. Shakil Ahmad, who's the Deputy Resident Representative at UNDP Cambodia. The core topic, something called REDD plus nesting.
REDD plus nesting. Sounds technical, but we're going to break it down, make it make sense.
So REDD plus itself, that stands for Reducing Emissions from Deforestation and Forest Degradation. It's basically a UN-backed framework.
Right. Trying to give countries, especially developing countries, value for keeping their forests standing or managing them better rather than cutting them down.
Exactly. It provides incentives for things like conservation, sustainable forest management, that sort of thing.
But the nesting part, that's where it gets particularly interesting for this deep dive.
Yeah, nesting is the innovation here. It's about creating a system, a coherent structure.
So, like, how do efforts happening at, say, a local project level, how do they fit into the bigger picture, the regional level, or even the whole country's goals?
Precisely. It's about making sure all that good work, all those emission reductions happening locally, get counted properly and contribute fairly to the national targets. No double counting.
Okay, so think different size containers, small project, medium region, large country. Nesting helps everything fit together neatly.
That's a good way to put it. It ensures the accounting is solid and the benefits are clear across all those levels. And that's what this workshop in Cambodia was aiming to push forward.
Our goal here is to really get a handle on how they're trying to make this work. Find those aha moments without getting totally lost in the jargon.
And the workshop itself tells a story. Just look at who was there.
Yeah, who attended?
We had representatives from Cambodia's Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries.
Okay, key government bodies.
Absolutely. But also development partners, civil society organizations, universities, even international delegates.
So a real mix. Not just government talking to government.
No, it signals this needs a collaborative approach. Everyone with a stake in Cambodia's forests and climate goals needed to be part of the conversation to make nesting actually work in practice.
And UNDP, Mr. Ohan's organization, they've been involved in Cambodia's climate efforts for a while, haven't they?
Oh, yes. A long track record. Things like the Cambodia Climate Change Alliance, the CCCA, and the National REDD Plus program itself.
So they've helped build capacity.
Definitely. Strengthening institutions, improving data, supporting policy, basically laying the groundwork for something as ambitious as this nesting system. You need that solid foundation.
Which brings us to Cambodia's progress already. They've done quite a bit on REDD plus lay, right?
They have. A really significant achievement is that Cambodia successfully completed what's called the REDD plus readiness phase.
Readiness phase. What does that mean, practically?
It means they've put in place the 4 key elements defined by the Warsaw Framework for REDD plus us. Think of it as the essential toolkit.
Okay, like what?
Things like having a national REDD plus strategy, a system for monitoring forests, safeguards to protect people and the environment, and understanding what drives deforestation in the first place.
So they've ticked those boxes, they've done their homework.
Exactly. They aren't starting from scratch. And building on that, the REDD plus Secretariat in Cambodia developed this REDD plus implementation framework. That's the nesting system we're talking about.
The blueprint, then.
Precisely, the operational plan. And its aims are critical. First, clear rules for tracking emission reductions, whether it's a small project or the whole country.
Makes sense. Need consistent accounting.
Second, a fair way to share the benefits. If REDD plus generates income, how does it flow back, especially to local communities?
Very important. And avoiding double counting, you mentioned that.
Crucial. You can't count the same ton of reduced CO2 twice. It undermines the credibility of the whole thing. And finally, ensuring overall environmental integrity.
Okay, so clear rules, fair benefits, no double counting, and strong environmental standards.
That's the core of it. And it's not just talk. They've drafted actual regulations.
Ah, like legal documents.
Yes, a draft regulatory framework specifically for REDD plus nesting, and also a draft PROCNES, which is a type of legal regulation in Cambodia focused on nesting.
And this is being supported by Who?
This is under the Forest Carbon Partnership Facility, the FCPF Phase 2, with UNDP supporting Cambodia's work. The FCPF is a major global partnership helping countries with REDD plus STOCNA.
Got it. So real institutional mechanisms are being put in place. Let's zoom out again. Why is this forest stuff, this FOLU sector, so important for Cambodia's climate goals?
Well, it's huge. According to their updated climate commitments under the Paris Agreement, their NDC.
Nationally determined contribution.
Right. The forestry and other land use sector, FOLU, is expected to deliver nearly 60% of Cambodia's total planned emission reductions by 2030.
60%. Just for forests and land use.
Almost 60%. It shows just how vital forests are to their national climate strategy. It's massive.
So RDDD plus Aureus and this nesting system isn't just some side project, it's central.
Absolutely central. And it's not only about cutting emissions, it's also seen as a key way to generate carbon credits.
Ah, the carbon market angle.
Exactly. These credits could potentially bring in finance, creating more incentives for conservation and sustainable management.
And looking even further ahead to their next round of climate targets.
Yeah.
NDC 3.0.
REDD Plus is expected to continue playing a major role in financing climate action in the FOLU sector. They're even exploring using different international carbon market standards.
So keeping their options open on how to potentially monetize these emission reductions.
Seems like it. And it's worth noting, Cambodia isn't entirely new to carbon markets. They've actually been engaging for about a decade with voluntary carbon standard REDD Plus projects and also something called the Joint Credit Mechanism, or JCM.
So they have some real-world experience to build on. That must help with designing this nesting system.
Definitely. Lessons learned, capacity built, it all feeds into making this more integrated nesting approach work better.
So boiling it down, what are the key benefits Cambodia hopes to get from successfully implementing REDD plus nesting?
Mr. Ahmad highlighted a few key things. Enhanced governance is one. Better oversight, clearer roles and responsibilities.
Okay, stronger management.
Stronger social and environmental safeguards, too. Making sure projects are genuinely beneficial and don't cause harm.
Crucial for community buy-in and legitimacy.
And transparency. Making the whole process open and understandable. All of this aims to produce high-quality carbon accounting.
Which makes the credits potentially more valuable and trusted internationally.
Exactly. It's about building confidence in the results they're achieving.
And this specific workshop, this consultation, was part of actually doing it, right? Not just talking about it.
Yes, this is tied to a piloting initiative, a collaboration between the UNREDD Global Program, UNDP, and Cambodia's REDD Plus Secretariat.
Piloting, so testing it out.
Correct. They're actively testing the nesting framework on the ground, looking at both the technical side, like how best to monitor emissions across different scales, and the institutional side.
How do the different organizations work together? Who does what?
Precisely. The pilot involves selecting specific sites, districts, provinces, and running the system through its paces.
Real-world tests.
Real-world tests. They're refining monitoring methods, seeing how the institutional arrangements function, basically assessing if REDD plus nesting delivers what it promises.
And they've got help with the technical side.
Yes, they're working with expert partners like Conservation International, the Wildlife Conservation Society, and the Spatial Informatics Group. They provide technical assistance guided by UNDP and the Secretariat.
Okay, so a lot of expertise being brought to bear. Now, you mentioned this was the second consultation. What came out of the first one?
The first one was really about establishing a shared understanding, getting everyone on the same page about the core design features, how the piloting would be structured, the key technical bits, sort of completing the pre-nesting phase.
Laying the groundwork, agreeing on the plan.
Exactly. So this second consultation, the focus shifted. It was about advancing the actual implementation.
Getting down to brass tacks.
Right. Looking at the practical operational aspects. What are we learning from the early stages of the pilot projects?
Bringing people from national and local levels together with the tech experts seems vital there.
Absolutely. A key goal was refining Cambodia's MRV system that's monitoring, reporting, and verification, making sure it's robust.
And ensuring that what happens in a specific project lines up with the bigger national picture.
Yes, strengthening that alignment between project-level activities and the overall jurisdictional or national REDD plus approach. They also wanted to get a clear sense of the scope and scale of the piloting work.
To feed back into refining the nesting rules.
Exactly. Using the practical experience to review and update that draft nesting framework, make it more effective. It's an iterative process. Learn, adapt, improve.
Finally, how does this all fit into Cambodia's broader plans and policies? Is it well connected?
Very much so. Mr. Ahmad stressed the strong alignment. This REDD plus nesting work fits right in with the royal government's national strategies, like the pentagonal strategy, and their environmental plans, like the circular strategy for environment.
And UNDP's support reflects this alignment.
Yes, UNDP's country program document supports these national priorities. They'll continue backing initiatives around carbon market readiness, ensuring community-protected areas can potentially access carbon finance.
And involving local people.
Critically important. Meaningful engagement of indigenous peoples and local communities is a stated priority. Plus, a continued focus on environmental governance in protected areas, all under that leaving no one behind principle.
Okay, so it's integrated into the bigger picture of sustainable development in Cambodia.
That's the clear intention.
So let's try and sum up the main takeaways here.
Well, I think first, Cambodia has made some really solid progress on REDD plus base. Completing the readiness phase was a big milestone.
Right, they've built a foundation.
And now, piloting this nesting framework is the critical next step. It's ambitious.
It definitely sounds like it aims to bring much-needed structure and coherence.
And that has real potential. Potential to strengthen their climate action, yes, but also potentially improve access to international climate finance through carbon markets.
By creating a more transparent, accountable, and ultimately effective system for tackling deforestation and forest degradation.
That's the goal.
Okay, so hopefully, listening to this, you now have a much clearer picture of what REDD plus nesting is all about in the Cambodian context. It's complex, for sure, but you can see the logic building on existing work, integrating efforts, aiming for robust results.
It's a fascinating example of how a country is trying to translate a global framework into national action.
Which leads us nicely to a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over.
How might the success or even the challenges faced by initiatives like REDD plus nesting in a country like Cambodia influence the bigger global picture?
Yeah, think about how these efforts to connect local action with national strategies and international standards. How could that shape the way the world tackles climate change and tries to promote sustainable development more broadly?
What can other countries and the international community learn from Cambodia's experience in trying to make these complex systems work on the ground? How do these local pieces fit into the global puzzle? Something to consider.